right.
Welcome back.
OG Sportz episode 3 of 3. I feel like we haven't been gone long.
No. I didn't even need to take a bathroom break yet. So.
Not yet.
No.
Nature break?
Right, bio.
Bio
So one of the questions we had for the last episode we didn't get to because we went on a few different tangents, but that's okay. That's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim, 2 OG things you're working on now, and why?
Okay, so I haven't done squats not really, in several years. Especially, body weight, sure, maybe here and there, whatever, but for the most part, nothing that would be a full squat. As they like to say, arse to grass.
I think you can curse.
Yeah.
It's our podcast.
That's true. So, and with that, so I've started doing, just 135, 185, somewhere along those lines, not super heavy, just as low as I can. And, doing like a warm-up set of like 10, and then like a second set of like 5 to 8, just depending how I feel, and try and do 4 or 5 sets. Trying to work on that strength through a full range of motion. And then the other thing that I work out with Joe. So work out with Joe at his place. He's got a bunch of weights and stuff. Bought a slant board, and so we do kind of the Falkland step, where you on the board like this and get your toe down on the ground, so you kind of get your knee out over your toes with the back foot, and do that step. So we kind of work on that, getting knees over toes, almost like if you think about like getting out of a vehicle, like a truck, and how you step down and catch yourself. That's that kind of catch that. I was noticing that just in my left leg, I was like, I'm not catching myself as well as I used to. So that's kind of an idea of doing that full squats and that strength thing, because, as we all sit in chairs and don't do a whole lot of physical activity and get older, we go to stand and move around, and all of a sudden your knee just gives out, or, your back locks up, whatever it is, and trying to kind of work through some of those things to make all that movement feel better, more natural, more like it should, versus just getting older and letting go on, I'm just getting old, Right. So really working on flexibility and range of motion. I have terrible flexibility when it comes to like groins, side to side as well as front to back. And so there's another guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but that I found online, that hyperbolic stretching. I like to do some of his routines.
Oh yeah, he's kind of freaky. I've seen some.
Yeah, he's. I want to say he's Russian, but he's probably not. But he's something in that sort of neck of the woods, and his accent kind of leads that way. But yeah, I think he was a gymnast, at some sort, or a gymnast coach, and he does some more. It's stretching, but then you do stretching with strengthening at the same time to kind of get stuff to lengthen those muscles and get the strength through a range of motion versus just a very short range. Yeah. So those are 2 things I'm trying to kind of do, is in a way of keeping myself from hopefully aging or acting older than my age.
Feeling older.
Yes. Cool. According to my scale, my metabolic age is my metabolic age. I don't know how, because I would think that it would be younger, but apparently I'm too heavy for my scale.
Fatty.
Yeah, right. Right.
All right.
So how about you?
Let's see. So recent for me is just a consequence of some injuries that I've suffered. I was Casey Crew is a local basketball
league. Well, sports league, right?
Yeah, and they have basketball and
pickleball and all kinds of
other
stuff,
cornhole, things like that. So I had been playing in their basketball league for many years. This last season, suffered, I think, our 3rd or 4th game of probably one of the worst ankle rolls I've had in a while. It was probably broken, but I'm too cheap to, especially these days without a job, to go to the doctor and pay that $50 deductible for them to tell me what I already know, or again, what I think I already know. So just decided to stay off of it and things like that. So I'm in a phase now where kind of starting at the knee ability 0 phase. So just super basic knees over toes exercises, and just they feel good. So I'll probably next week move up to some more weighted versions of those programs versus body weight only or two
Mm-hmm.
leg, or maybe go to single leg, things like that. So,
Yeah.
side note, we've mentioned this knees over toes and ATG, and there's a book that Tim recommended to me that I read that I think I mentioned effectively changed my life. And we'll put a link at some point somewhere to that book that you can click on, and I think we'll set it up so we get some affiliate money out of it. So
Yeah.
that's a way for y'all to help us out in this endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't read that book in your, I'd say, 30s or above,
Even 20s.
20s, yeah, even I have my daughter, she's 14, doing some of the exercises.
Yep.
So it's all about bulletproofing your knee, and it's information I wish I had in my teens and 20s for sure. So I think I'd be in a different physical world right now if that were
Yeah.
the case. So.
And if you've been on YouTube and you've watched any videos have to do with basketball, you've probably seen his videos, because I mean, he was probably a really good athlete before he hurt his knees, and now that he's kind of gone backwards to basically rebuild his knees from the ground up, kind of the way he describes it, I would say that, I mean, you've probably seen him hit his head in the rim or something, So and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's exploded in popularity in the last few years, especially.
Yep.
So.
And I mean, from the videos I've seen in the past, he's helped some really big athletes too, along the way. So he's in Florida, I think.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of connection with the different schools down there, and a lot of people go down there to train in the wintertime and stuff. So yeah. But he's good.
So yeah, we'll hopefully have a link there at some point. But back to that's one thing I'm doing is kind of that's what reminded me of it, is going to that knee ability zero phase of his program.
Yep.
And that's another lesson I've learned, is just being patient. Like, it takes us a lot longer to heal, to recover from things, stuff like that. So
and not being afraid to go back to zero.
Right. Leaving your ego at the door, checking your ego.
Yeah.
Even 10 years ago, I'd have probably tried to start playing basketball right away or something like that. And I could feel it. I wanted to, but I was like, no, the smart thing to do is just let it heal, and then just go through the rehab. And I know after 3 months, all of a sudden I'll be better. And it feels like a long time now, but it's going to be over soon. And I'll hopefully be back on the basketball courts.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that. And then I've been kind of battling through some weird back tweaking issues. Just it'd be my upper back one day, and then my lower back. My lower back went out just shutting a drawer 2 Saturdays ago, where I just had to take a week off.
You're getting old when you just shut a drawer and your back starts to go out.
Right. So I hesitate saying that to the world, but hey, we're being transparent. Right? So yeah, going through some weird kind of sufferings and stuff like that. So I think my shoulder, I've had a ongoing impingement thing, but that's going well. So my upper body training, my push days and pull days are going good, but I'm trying to get my leg days back up to par. So I had to kind of smile to myself when you were talking about going light with 135 on your ass to grass squats. I'm like, man, I can't do ass to grass in the first place, and when I start doing that, it's just the bar only. So again, checking your ego. Like, I know I could do the probably 135 just to warm up, but it's not smart. I'm going to hurt myself. So I'm going to the bar and just go as low as I can without pain.
Well, that's where a lot of times, instead of trying to do ass to grass, you, as an example, pull out a bench and sit down and then stand up, because that point of and again, as low as that bench you can go, but when you sit down, it's almost like a rest pause. So that's obviously a way to do squats. You can rest for a second, and that rest is almost like telling your muscles, well, it's over. And then when you start over again, it's almost like, oh, I got to get refired up.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so it's kind of a fun way to challenge yourself to do squats to a level that you're comfortable, but not so far down that you have to depend on your own body to stop yourself. You can use the bench to kind of go in slow, sit down, pause, and then stand back up.
Yeah.
So that's something you should try, but that's what I do a lot of times. I'll do rest pause, or have my wife do rest pause squats, because she doesn't like the that full range of motion either.
Yeah, yeah. I like
So, yeah. Again, topics random can be sometimes, but it's like these are the kind of conversations like we are talking about, driving to play basketball or going someplace. These are the kind of things that we just
this
sit
is
there
how
and
it
like,
goes.
yeah. He says, I've thought about doing this. Well, and I'm like, what about this? Or I'll say, I thought about doing this, and he says, well, what about that? And these are the kind of the things that just random conversations sometimes that hopefully, if you've never thought about doing ass to grass squats or rest pause squats, this may be, I couldn't do ass to grass, so well, can you do rest pause? Or the pins that go across. Can you set the bar down on the pins and then stand up underneath it and stand back up?
Yeah.
I like the bench idea better because I feel more in control of the weight, but everybody, there's nothing wrong with either one.
Yeah. And I think that brings up an important point, and maybe we can close on this for this episode. But everybody's at their own point in their journey to physical fitness. And a big mistake that I did, one of the learnings through my 30s, especially trying to get back in the gym and still having kind of an ego that I was fighting, is seeing other people uh, and saying, "Oh yeah, I can do that," and then go try to do that and then hurt myself. Yeah. So now, if I don't feel as strong, I mean, I have no problem. And this is what I do actually for my bench days: is I'll just bench the bar.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody else thinks about it. And then I might put a 25 plate on there to just slowly work my way up to the actual weight that's going to do something for me.
Yep.
But it just warms up the body and things like that. And you would have never caught me benching only the bar or the 25 plates on there, even 10 years ago, especially not in high school or anything like that. So, because just my ego was in the way. But that's how I got hurt. So.
I didn't used to do warm up at all before I went to the gym, other than basically throwing 135 on a bar and starting a bench, right? Or, whatever it was. Now I have like a little routine that I do with some bands. I do some jump rope, and I do like about 7 minutes worth of just a little bit of stretching, a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of mobility stuff to kind of get everything moved and warmed up good. So that way, when I go to do my first warm up set of something, I don't feel like I'm like, like my shoulders impinged here, or this is going right. I don't have all those issues.
Right.
I mean, you still can, but
everybody's at their own spot. The point is, get your butt active and do something. Whether even if it's just, I mean, the very first step in the ATG, the Ability Zero program, is to walk backwards for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you can't do 10 minutes, do 5 minutes. But the point is, just do something.
And if you can't walk backwards, walk forwards.
Yeah. Just do something.
Walk forwards for 5 minutes and then figure out if you can walk backwards.
Yep. And the key is consistency over long periods of time.
Yep. So I think that's good. Good information. Yep. So again, appreciate you guys tuning in, checking us out. OG Sportz.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah. We out.